Hello and welcome to the Space Between Ideas. I'm Blaine Gates. I'm here with Timur. How you doing, Timur?
Great, Blaine. Thanks. How are you?
Fantastic. Have you met any farmers recently?
Not yet, not in person.
Uh-huh.
Planning to in a couple weeks, I hope.
Fantastic. So I'm still dreaming of becoming a farmer in Russia. Now that I hear about this new endeavor, let me share my screen. Now, usually when we start a new endeavor, well, first we write down specifically what the endeavor is. And here we wrote, be able to be the source of information for foreign nationals that want to move to Russia, increase market share, especially for people that want to do farming. So it's really interesting to bring farmers to Russia. And then as we begin discussing and planning out a new endeavor, we use the state progress checklist. And specifically, let's focus on these outcomes. So become the information source for people that want to enter Russia and do farming, provide services to open companies in general and in the agricultural industry, provide services to get visas and citizenship, and a seamless process or a package of end-to-end relocation services. All right, so, my head started to jumble around trying to figure out, like, what are all the pieces to this process? And often, I mean, there's two ways we can go. We can kind of continue to work through the state progress checklist, or we can start to focus on one area specifically. Now, I think in order to really understand the moving pieces, because it seems like there's a lot of moving pieces, let's take a quick look at state synergies. So in general, when people think about, when people talk about identifying entities or efforts that endeavor might affect or that affects the endeavor, we need to think about all these things. So we need to think about the clients, the peers. So peers are, for example, people that we work with in the same company, or people that, like, other companies that we work with. Then also providers. So those are people who are providing services, and we watch how this changes over time. And I thought maybe one thing we could do is kind of use one of these a whiteboard in order to kind of map out the process. So imagine that we have a guy, a family in, for example, South Africa. All right, so what's the first thing that happens? So we have a family in South Africa. And what's the first thing that happens in this process towards coming to Russia?
You mean when they already have all the information that they require, or
No.
they have the need to or they want to relocate from South Africa to another country? Yeah.
It's like a family in South Africa on a farm without any knowledge of what to do.
Yeah, as you mentioned before, like one of our goals is to become a source of information, because there is a lot of information probably in Russian that you can find on farming in Russia or agricultural business in Russia. Yeah, but there is very little information that you can find in English, and specifically targeting to a particular group, not just general farming or general agricultural business, but specifically, okay, what do I need to do in order to move towards the goal of relocating to Russia and starting a farm? Basically, for us, our main goal right now is to work on content, creating this content which will be useful for such people, yeah? And when we structure and when we think about the content that are to be provided, and of course, one of those information is like, how do you, like, what land is available? Can foreign nationals buy agricultural land? How hard it is? What are the legal entities and government support for farming industry in Russia? In general, how is the agricultural business in Russia, whether it's on the rise or whether it's declining? there are a lot of information that we plan to add on our new website. Yeah, because we have a specific special website for that, which will have all the information required. And of course, the immigration piece. Yeah, what actually do we provide, and why we think that in Russia it's right now a good time to immigrate, because some of the immigration laws have changed. Yeah, and that allows a straightforward process, not only to come into Russia and doing business, but also to get in the proper immigration paperwork, such as residency permits and citizenship. So,
all right. So let's say that this person is reading your website, and so we can put a title here. This is, what is it? What do we call the place where someone is getting information?
Well, the website that we have is Moving to Russia. It's not there yet because we're only working on it. Yeah, we're doing the content and everything, but the name is, yeah, we have the name, Moving to Russia website.
Okay. Now, eventually, what are different ways that people usually find websites? You have word of mouth marketing. You have paid marketing, like a media strategy, paid marketing. And then you have like people who are just searching on their own. All right. Now, what's the next step? So eventually, so they're getting all this information, and then what's the next step? Like, what's the first step?
Well, if they found us, or while they were searching for information, they found us, we would hope that they will contact us for more questions or some requests, and so that we would be able already to plan kind of next steps specifically for them. Yeah, because I mean, relocating to another country is a big thing. Yeah, there are a lot of things that people would need to consider.
What are the things that they need to consider?
Well, again, I cannot tell exactly for every person's situation, because some are saying, okay, we want to relocate, but we would like at first to sell like our farm or our property in their home country. So if somebody is already on the stage when they sold it, then it's much easier for them. Yeah, they're basically are looking to do it as fast as possible to make the next step and relocate to Russia. Yeah, if they're only considering, or like their farm is on sale but they haven't sold it, it needs to be done at first. Yeah, because obviously this is the money that people would require in order to come to Russia and start their living here.
Okay, next step.
Next step then, need to understand what region in Russia they would like to settle, where they would like to reside and do farming. Here it's a lot of work to do in order to basically provide the information on the Russian regions and what land is available, whether you can buy it or whether you can lease it at first. Or sometimes, I mean, there are options available in some of the regions. I mean, they should be in all of the regions of Russia, but in some regions already you cannot find this land, where government basically gives you the right to work on the land, and it's free of charge, and then you can acquire the land, but it will be free of charge provided that you work there. Yeah, not that you just sit on the land, but provided that you work there. So for us, we will need to do our work in order to provide them with these different options of regions in Russia where they would like to go. Probably it's advisable to make the initial coming to Russia, visiting and seeing what's available. It's doubt that anyone can make a decision on buying land or property in another country online, yeah, or not coming and seeing it. So people should come and with their own eyes see what they're buying.
So now, when somebody comes for a visit, what are the basic steps for the things that they're going to do in Russia? Just a basic checklist for like what will happen. So someone picks them up. Now, so they book their own tickets?
Yeah, we'll issue the invitation letter.
Invitation letter.
Yeah, we'll issue invitation. No, by the way, South Africans, if we're talking about South Africans, they can come to Russia visa free, yeah, for up to 3 months. So they just book the tickets, book hotel, and they can come to Russia without a visa for up to 3 months. So no need of invitation letter even from our side. They can just arrive to Russia.
Is there someone that can help them? Like, do you have a service, like a group that can book the tickets or book hotels for them if they're not really sure what to do?
Well, ourselves, as we are lawyers, we're not a travel agency. No, ourselves, we do not provide it as a service. Yeah, but secretaries probably would be able to do it. Yeah, so it's not, we do not offer it as a paid service, but for our clients, if they need that assistance, of course, we'll be able to do that. Yeah.
And they could also rent a car, or because someone's going to have to drive them and go with them to the region.
Oh, no, we will be supporting them, of course. Of course, it will be, because it's not only going to the region, it's also the language thing. Yeah, so somebody needs to be, I doubt that farmers or the land which is sold in the regions, people that are selling it are speaking perfect English. Not speaking about Afrikaners, but I doubt that they speak English, yeah? And probably vice versa. Foreigners won't be speaking Russian, so it will be us, me or my colleagues, that would be supporting them making the visas. That's part of our job.
All right, so now we're at the site visit. Now, what are the things that somebody will need to consider as they visit the site for the first time?
Well, we will do the preliminary work on every, I mean, if we're speaking about a particular like land plots or particular houses, we will do our homework in order to ensure that the legal paperwork is clean. Yeah? So that not the other way around. When people found the place and then we dig into the documents and understand that the documents are not in order, and it will be headache to buy the place. So we will be proposing already press print from the legal point of view objects and land plots.
Okay. All right. So they make the first visit, they come, and basically on the first visit or on the second visit or the third visit, eventually they have to make a decision. What is the decision that they have to make?
If they like this area, this place, this house, this land plot, and if they do, then we need to do all the proper paperwork, support the transaction, structure the transaction in a way that if there is not only the house, but also a land plot, and which is considered to be the purpose of the land is agricultural, foreign nationals cannot buy agricultural land in Russia. So it has to be written in the contract and structured in a way that the clients are secured, that once they get Russian citizenship, which if to do properly may take about a year and a half, which is quite fast actually. Once they get the Russian citizenship, that this land plot that they liked will be in their ownership. So all that is the legal documents, legal structuring of the paperwork. And that's our job, how to do it. If they buy just a house without agricultural land, they can do it without citizenship or residency. Yeah, they can just buy it.
Okay. Now, once they've signed the paperwork, they've sent the money, then what's the next step?
Well, government registration of the ownership.
So I guess that's okay. And now they own it. So then next they have to move everybody.
Yes.
All right. That's the fun part, right?
Yeah. Chicken, cattle, everyone.
All right. So now, and then the business starts. Okay. So now how do they, like, how do they connect to the market, and how do they know what to do, and how do they speak Russian? Like that's so. This is actually when they get past the lawyer, and then the lawyer goes home and says, "Well, that was interesting," and then the guy says, "Oh wait, where are the chickens? Who do I sell the chickens to?"
Yeah, well, we will also provide information with regards to how they want to register their business. It can be uh, it can be a regular limited liability company,
Mm-hmm.
or it can be a so-called farmer peasant enterprise. Basically, the difference would be that Russian government has special programs supporting the farmers, but there are requirements. And the main requirement is that the farmers are doing business in the form of farmer peasant enterprise in order to get government support. By government support, we understand grants that the government can provide. We understand also subsidized credit lines. We understand subsidized leasing of the equipment, subsidized rates on the equipment that farmer may need and would like to lease, which is all available. And actually, it's not only on equipment. You can also lease basically the cattle. You can participate in a program, yeah, where the government basically provides you with the money for the livestock, yeah.
Lease or purchase?
You eventually purchase, yeah, but you don't need to pay the full amount right away.
And then the last step is connecting to the market, I guess.
Roughly, yes, connecting to the market, and of course, when people come and they settle down, they should of course learn the language. It would be easier. Start learning Russian, maybe even when they're in South Africa or in the program. But we will of course be providing support on connecting to the market. I cannot say that we already have all that expertise, yeah, that we already right now have a management company that will be helping to sell the products. But this is the goal, yeah, to support people on further stages. So going that far, for me, would be quite hard to provide exact answers. But this is a step-by-step process. Of course, we will be helping with that too.
All right. So now, of all these, there's some specific areas where there has to be some very specific details. But I think this is a really good start. So let's just take one. Wow, that's really interesting that we have this long train of events. So basically, you have a family in South Africa on a farm without any knowledge of what to do. Somehow, they hear about the idea of relocating to Russia and to start a farm. Then they read some kind of structured content provided by someone, and you want to be that someone. So you have a website called Moving to Russia, where it discusses what land is available, what's happening in the agricultural industry, what are the rules for immigration, why it is now a good time to immigrate. So either they heard it from a friend, they saw it in a Google or a Facebook ad, or they were searching on their own. They next decide to make contact with you, and that's where you provide some information, more information about what they're asking about. So like you start to discuss where they are in the process of selling their home and farm in Africa, understand where they want to settle, then help them to find properties in a specific region and with options about where to live, what type of land and farming they will do. So then they book a ticket and they come and say hello. So then there's a full service available for them to come see the location, site visits, and the paperwork is already ready so they can see everything. They can start to meet people. If they decide to make the purchase, then you have all the paperwork ready to go in support of becoming Russian citizens. And there's stipulations in the contract that says that they can own the land at some future point when they have become a citizen. You help
Correct.
them to support this transaction. Next, they start to understand. Then they register the property with the government, and then everyone moves to Russia. Now, obviously, they've already decided on what type of enterprise they want, what type of company they want to own. And with some, there are certain types of grants and subsidies that can help them to start up with getting livestock, equipment, and land. And then, so then the last step is to then connect them, help them to connect to the market, which, I mean, if there were two people that were providing the same service, I would say that I would go with the guy who can connect me like straight to the market. So this will be an interesting step, because if you can say like on the very first day that, you know, this is the market, these are the guys that are doing the business, and they'll purchase it from you. You just have to come over and work. Then it will be a lot more enticing than if you say, well, if you give us lots of money, you can buy a piece of land and then figure it out in a foreign language.
Yeah, absolutely agree, of course.
Interesting. All right. Well, I think that gives everybody a lot of things to think about for our discussion today. And let's put our thinking caps on and then begin to go a little deeper next time into thinking, like structuring the thought process of this endeavor. I'd like to thank Timur for coming on to our program today.
Thanks, Blaine. Pleasure as always.
And we'll catch up to you soon.
Thank you. Agreed.
All right.
Talk to you.
Bye-bye.
Talk to you soon. Bye.